What's up? I'm Dan Friedenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Friedenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are just kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Friedenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building. I'm joined today with Leslie, and is it Awasom? Is that how you pronounce it?
You got it, Dan. It's Leslie Awasom. That's correct.
Oh, awesome. Sweet. And I got some great news for you today, Leslie. Today, we are joined by my very favorite audience member. And why is my favorite member of the audience here today? It's because this is a chance encounter where I interview commercial real estate syndicators, buyers, sellers, investors, and all that sort of thing. And you may ask, why would I do such a silly thing? Well, if you've ever heard of off-market deals, those are the private ones that are sometimes called 506B deals. Well, you might know that you're not allowed to share those deals with people unless you have a documented prior substantive relationship. And so that's what we're up to here is we're finding out levels of sophistication, appetite for risk, core competencies that you look to contribute. But the best thing for you is not only do you get to meet somebody new and know how they fit into these deals, but you'll also get better at communicating effectively on the subject of commercial real estate deals. But before we get too excited about deals in your business, Leslie, do you want to say a thing or two about yourself?
Thanks, Dan. That's a great intro for the show. I can't wait to get started. My name is Leslie Awasom. I'm a CRNA and that's a nurse anesthetist and real estate investor. One of the founders of Excite Capital Investments LLC. A platform we buy apartment buildings in collaboration with our community of investor, with majority of them being healthcare professionals. So I'm just here, grateful to share the knowledge and to be part of Dan's show for sure.
Awesome, awesome, and I love hanging out with nurse anesthetists. I like to make the joke that that is the best sobriety test out there is the term nurse anesthetist. But enough fun and games. The first segment that we always go through in this format in these chance encounters are the five distinct motivations. Before I get started with that, though, I gotta say, but wait. Check your eight. Hey, Leslie, I don't know if you can see through the camera and into the audience's device, but down there might be this hideous subscribe button. And maybe if they hit, yeah, okay, it's a stupid joke. Never mind.
Yeah, yeah, hit it.
Exactly.
I can see it.
Awesome, awesome. So the five distinct motivations. I've talked to a whole whack of different commercial real estate investors, syndicators, and whatnot. And one of the things that I think is kind of glossed over way too frequently is it takes months to close a deal, and there's plenty of risks involved there. So that means if you're going to be taking on partners, you need to find out what exactly is going to keep them into the game because there are risks involved, as I said, and you have to have that clear. And everybody has their own unique why, but personally, I found that they fit pretty neatly into these five distinct motivations. So I go through them in every episode. The first one, preservation of purchasing power. What on earth is that? Well, some people already have a portfolio of assets, and the way that they make ends meet instead of a W-2 is the proceeds from ownership is how they pay their bills. And if somebody's already in that situation, well, why would they bother making another acquisition? Well, there's a couple reasons. One is if inflation is rearing its ugly head and eating away from the purchasing power of the cash flow, it's time to make another deal. It's time to pick up another property. But the other time is if they can buy at a steep discount, maybe because it's distressed or maybe because there's an asset crash or something like that, then they'll still follow through with it. But that's not where I'm at. Where I'm at is trading time directly for wealth. And what that's all about, it all stems from my tech background. And one of the problems about being in tech, it's very similar to being, a nurse anesthetist, in healthcare, is that you're a high net worth individual, you're a high income earner, high salary earner, that sort of thing. And even though it sounds all great, I got into real estate back because in 2014, I took my CRM agency, which is mass emailing and creating online funnels for businesses. And I was doing that for a guy who was flipping 10 houses a month. He was doing 10 transactions a month, and he was paying way less in tax than I was. So that got me thinking, how do I pivot to where I'm getting rewarded in the form of deployed capital, aka equity, instead of salary, and then giving it half of it to the government in the form of tax. So that's what I'm up to. But that's a little bit too subtle for some people, especially youngsters. They want to get involved in this because they see there are lots of zeros floating around. But what they're really up to, they want to take control of their schedule. And that might mean they want to hustle really hard right now and then tone it down later. But maybe it's not so much about fast tracking retirement as much as it's about taking control of your schedule, working fewer months per year, working fewer weeks per month or something like that. So that's what some people are up to, is to kind of dial it back. But that's vastly different from my last two, like the guys who are just plain ambitious. They're after that generational wealth. They want to buy their hometown, and they want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job. And that's why they're getting involved into these deals. And that's fantastic because they're going to hustle into their 90s. So they're great to be on your team. But the last group, they're somewhat similarly motivated, but it's not so much about their own family or their own name or anything like that. But they picked a sector of society, or maybe it's the environment, maybe it's animals. Who knows what it is, but they figured out that there's a financial component to making a really big impact. And so that's why they are making these commercial acquisitions and multiplying their wealth and whatnot. Now, Leslie, as far as those 5 different motivations go, what combination of those would you say describes you best?
I'll have to say, kind of like you, Dan, the 9 to 5, just realizing, number one, that 9 to 5, trading that time for money is not an efficient way to grow wealth long term. That was one of my biggest whys. And then along the way, as you start digging into getting more, then you discover the power of being able to save on taxes, which you mentioned, by investing in real estate. And that's another why as well. And in addition, want to have that impact, want to be that example for others to follow. Because growing up as a young man, I had all these great dreams and visions, and I always looked around to try to find somebody from my community or that looked like me that was doing some of the things that I wanted to do, but I could not see that person. So I came to the realization that I'm growing to become that person that I always looked out there for somebody. So that just gives me the fuel to keep going, to be able to go through any challenges or overcome any obstacles along the way and keep going. So for me, I think you covered pretty much all the whys that lead people down this journey. And for me, those are the ones that keep me going.
I love it. I love it. And of course, one of the issues though is we are in commercial real estate, and real estate, just like any other business, it's got plenty of different risks involved. And if you've ever been involved in a 506B deal before, the securities attorney who works for the issuer of that syndication, they should have forced you to fill in this questionnaire that has all sorts of really in-depth questions about your finances. And it might be a little bit uncomfortable because the syndicator is going to know, and it's required by law, they have to know this stuff. They have to know what your financial situation, possibly even more so than you know about your own parents. But when I went through those different questions, one thing really jumped out to me as a bit problematic, which is I thought that the tolerance for risk assessment, I found that the question about how much risk you like, it's not very clear. It doesn't really give you much information to work off of. So I made a new tolerance for risk assessment question for this interview series, and it's a fill in the blanks question. The question is, there are many popular investment asset classes, but I think blank is too risky. So Leslie, as far as you're concerned, what's too risky for you?
Crypto.
Yep. I can definitely relate to that. And another thing that's really risky is clearly accidentally hitting your mouse and ended up on the wrong one. Yeah, crypto makes sense. Like, one of the problems about crypto, of course, is that it doesn't provide a roof over your head. And of course, you can't eat it. You can't eat it like a subscribe sentence. That's how a subscribe sandwich is how I remember. It's time to pull out the Dan Does Deals Commercial Core Competency Cube with the 6 different roles in a commercial deal. This will really help you effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate. And in every episode, I go through all 6 sides. And if you want your own copy so you can practice with your friends and family, that's what I want you to do. You can go to dandoesdeals.com. It's completely free to just print it out. I don't even ask for your email address or any sort of contact information, which that's the cardinal sin of marketing. You should never give away your freebie without asking for some sort of contact information. But it's so important to me that you get used to these 6 different roles so you know if a deal is missing parts right from the get-go. There's been some bad stuff in 2023 with people who miss one or more parts, and they've been in the news. But in every episode, I go through all 6 sides, which means it'll be really easy for you to learn how to explain this stuff. So first side is the repositioner. What's a repositioner? It's an acquisitions person. So they're looking at a whole bunch of different properties and they're doing a bunch of paperwork. The paperwork they're doing, they have a fancy word for it. It's called underwriting. They're doing the math. They're underwriting the deal and they're figuring out, first of all, is this property even making the amount of money that the seller or broker claims it is? Because, but they're called repositioners. A lot of people call these guys investors and these guys investors and those guys investors. But I'm being more specific by calling them repositioner because what's going through their head is they're saying, how can I find more upside in this property if I take it over? How can I make it make more money than it previously was? So that's what they're figuring out. And one of the parts that is part of every repositioner's job is they have to have a network of financiers. They have to have investor relations, knowing a bunch of lenders. Financiers are people who only deal with paper and money. They're not on the GP team. They do not get involved in any sort of asset management or anything like that. And the repositioner has to know a whole whack of these guys, because if they can secure a more advantageous loan, that goes straight to the profitability of the building. So they're going to know lots and lots of financiers. But the repositioner, the next place they're going to look to find more upside is they're going to check out operations and figure out why those Benjamins keep on going down the toilet. But of course, there's a lot more to operations than just unclogging toilets and collecting rents and mowing lawns. A couple of the things that I contribute to GP teams of commercial deals, one of them is my marketing chops. And I'd say the enemy of commercial real estate is vacancy. If you've got a vacancy rate problem, you might even be investing in larger deals like, 100 units or more, and you're outsourcing the property management to another company. But if they can't fill the units, you need somebody on the GP team with some serious marketing chops who can step in and get those units filled. And then of course, with the CRM background, online application sides, I can automate all sorts of things that are unusual for a lot of teams. But operations, quite frequently, there's only so much wiggle room you can find with more efficient operations. So the repositioner will frequently get a contractor team involved to do a value add. They will upgrade the units so that they're nicer, which will mean that a new resident would be happy to pay more in rent than the previous one. So that's why they're upgrading it. But of course, you can upgrade those units to your heart's content, and that doesn't mean that you're going to get a return on investment. You can't be gold plating toilets because you're never going to get your money back. So the contractor team, they're going to be working away on that. And there are some risks involved, because like, what if they use substandard parts, or what if they drag it on as far as the schedule goes, or they're cutting corners? Well, if you're like me, I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I'm from the internet. So that means I need locals. I need boots on the ground, somebody who can be there in an hour or two, because that's not going to be me. I'd still be stuck at an airport in an hour or two. So I definitely need those boots on the ground involved. But when a repositioner has assembled this team and they got this property in mind, and they turn around to the financiers, these lenders, and say, hey, I got this wonderful property in mind. It's, let's say, 350 units and it's tens of millions of dollars. You don't have, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars that you want to lend us, do you? Well, the financier is going to have one big question on their mind that I haven't addressed yet. And the funny thing is, a lot of coaching programs, a lot of gurus and things like that, they really gloss over this part. So listen carefully. The lender is going to say, who's your sponsor? Who's your KP? What's that all about? Let's do a hypothetical. Let's say you're a physician or other successful medical professional or an attorney or an engineer, something like that. And you get this idea in your head, hey, why don't I and my circle of friends, we put in our 100K each or something like that, and we take over the local apartment complex or something like that. Well, the flaw in your plan is that somebody in the fold has to already own a similar asset, or you're not going to be eligible for the commercial loan. And so that's a very serious problem when you're first starting, and you need to know more sponsors. But the other things you need are, you need a certain amount of liquidity, and then among the owners team, you need a balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan. But if you got all those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So Leslie, I imagine that you do a lot of investor relations in your network. I imagine you probably have some sort of asset management and deal finding, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. Of those different sides of the die, where do you and your team fit in?
So our team does it all. We have we do from the acquisition all the way to like the management of the assets and investor relations and everything. So we do it all for our assets. But for me specifically, I fall into the asset management side of things, more focusing on the operation. So once we get the deal under contract, then that's where a lot of my work comes in with I implementing the business plan and making sure that the asset is performing to where it's supposed to be performing.
All right, beautiful, good stuff. So then my next question then, it has to do with the buy box. And when investors, syndicators or whatnot, when we're asking each other, hey, what you looking for? What's your buy box? What's your ideal property? We're really asking about three main things. The first one's geography. So where is it? That means what state, which county, possibly even which neighborhood. Okay, it's all going to matter. So we're going to need to know that geography. The second one is size. And most of my guests on this show are in multifamily, which means apartment complexes. And in apartment complexes, the way you define size is by the unit count, the number of units in the property. And the reason why that's so important is because you'd have a completely different team taking over an 8-unit apartment complex compared to these 100, 150, 350 unit apartment complexes. So size is going to matter. Other forms of commercial real estate, they go by square footage, but unit count is what we're going to need to know for apartment buildings. But the third one, I'm going to call it desirability. A lot of people call it class, but the problem with class is it's split into two different things that are completely different, even though they use the same word. The first one is condition, and then the second one is area. And when you're talking about condition, you're talking about how old is the building, how beat up is the building, how many luxuries and amenities does it have? Like, is it really plain and bare bones, or is it full of, like laundry facilities and gyms and spas and things like that? Okay, that's going to affect the desirability. But when you're talking about the area, we're talking about a few different things. The first one is like, what are the school districts like where this property is located? The other one, of course, is how's the crime rate where the property is located? But I also need to go back to how people always say location, 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 but what they really mean is traffic, traffic, traffic. In other words, how many people pass by that property on a given day, because that's definitely going to make it more desirable if more people are passing by there anyway. But both the area and the condition, those different levels of desirability, they're rated the same way as in grade school, where you got A plus at the top, and then A, and then A minus, and then B plus, and so on. But Leslie, as far as you and your team goes, what's easier to say yes to and more difficult to say no to?
For us, 100+ units, A, B, or C, in like growth markets in the southeast. We're looking at North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia for our next acquisition. So yeah, that's where our buy box fits.
All right, great, great, cool. And then as the next question has to do with people, and my favorite part about commercial real estate, it has to be the people. People are so supportive in this industry. And I think the reason is because nobody is going to be all 6 sides of the die for any meaningful amount of time. There's just too much to do on a lot of these different sides. And because of that, though, it means that I find we're so eager to give referrals and whatnot, but at the same time, we all have our own unique skill sets, which makes us better suited to help some people more than others. Me personally, because of my marketing and technology background, being from the internet, I'm always eager to speak to more sponsors and KPs. And then the other ones, of course, would be locals. Because as I said, I'm from the internet. So I need locals. But Leslie, as far as you're concerned, if you have any 506B deals, don't mention them specifically, especially in the same sentence as asking for investors. But if you have a C deal, then just go ahead. But who's out there in the audience who you can help the most?
Um, Busy professionals, especially medical professionals, we're looking to diversify out of the stock market and looking for alternative, safe alternative assets that they could use to grow wealth with. Those are the people that we could help the most. I'm a medical professional myself, and I got on this journey because I saw an opportunity that was not really taught to us as medical professionals, despite all the hard work and all the schooling that we do. So we created this platform to be able to educate members of that community. So we don't have any live deals right now. We all of our deals are currently being managed, and we out there looking for more assets to bring to our community. Have a very stringent criteria for the deals we bring, because we want to position every member of our community for success. But we are in the process of launching an educational platform, more education for other professionals that are looking to do exactly what we've done, like build a platform like ours, go on the active side, or that's just looking to become more educated, like all the beautiful work that Dan is doing here on his show to educate investors so that you're able to make great investment decisions. So yeah, so that's what we've been working on these years. And yeah, and you can find more about what we're doing on our website, which is www.xsitecapital.com. That's xsitecapital.com.
All right, beautiful. And that covers my next question. My next question was how to reach out. And of course, I got this really distinct last name. It makes me really, really easy to find, especially on LinkedIn, which is the social media platform that I spend most of my time on because that's where people are looking to do business. But if you scan this QR code that's right here, that brings you to the FAQs page of 506BME, which is a platform where I help you with your IT to document all your substantive relations, which that's vital for the SEC, because if you're doing 506B deals, the thing that they need proof of is that you actually knew people, their level of sophistication, appetite for risk and whatnot. You knew it before you got a signed PSA, before you got involved in a deal, because otherwise you're not allowed to share it with people. Otherwise you have to use a different exemption, but it still is a good plan, even if you are only intending to work with accredited investors. But Leslie, you mentioned your website. That's the best way to reach out, or is there also like a social media channel, phone, email, something like that they should know of?
Absolutely, yes. You could also touch base with me. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. That's Leslie Awasom, at Leslie Awasom on LinkedIn. Same handle on Instagram as well. And my personal email is lawasom at xsitecapital.com. Again, that's lawasom as in Mary at xsitecapital.com. Please reach out. Let's connect. Let's continue to share value with each other, and continue to grow.
All right, beautiful. And then my last thing, I know that you're a medical professional, Leslie, but yeah, I've got a public service announcement that you don't need to chime in on. It's for you though, and the public service announcement is if you've been watching this episode and you've been experiencing searing pains in your eyeballs and like migraine-like symptoms, I'm confident it's the hideous subscribe button's fault, and you can hit that for free. It doesn't cost you anything. And of course, the reason I want you to do it is because if enough people click on it, then YouTube will start to pay for these videos instead of me. And I think that would be amazing. And the trade-off for you, just so we're clear, it doesn't cost you anything. It just means that my videos may show up on your list of suggestions, but you can go ahead and ignore those suggestions because I just appreciate the fact that you spent this time with me. Just like Leslie, I appreciate you joining me today. This has been great.
All right, this has been fantastic. Listen to Dr. Dan. That's a great prescription. So hit the subscribe button.
I love it. Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me.
Hi.
Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay, are you already logged into 506B me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506B me, everybody. Hey there. Are you interested in commercial real estate deals? Would you like to build your network of investors and deal sponsors? Well, the best thing I can do for you is have you appear on a chance encounter interview as featured on dandoesdeals.com. You may know me from 506B Me or as a top commercial real estate voice on LinkedIn. And if I had to think of the top factors in your success in commercial real estate, my top two would be your network and your ability to effectively explain how deals work with effective communication. The 15-minute chance encounter format, it checks both of those boxes, and they ensure that you can share your private deals with me without the SEC calling it a public solicitation. So hop onto LinkedIn. You can see my name is over here, Dan Friedenberg, and search for my name. And the best way to reach me and book that is to message me through LinkedIn. And don't worry, it doesn't matter if you decided to enter this space just last week or 2 weeks ago, or if it was decades ago. It'll be fun and easy to look good. We're just asking multiple choice questions based on your core competencies you look to contribute, your level of sophistication, all that kind of stuff. So I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye. Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me.
Hi.
Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay. Are you already logged into 506B me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506B me, everybody.